Hi everybody, and welcome back to our Task 4.5 video. In this video, we're going to be continuing to talk about our learning target from our previous video, which was I can use inverse operations to solve linear equations. The difference is that today we are going to be looking at equations that have variables on both sides. So all that we're doing today is continuing to solve, but just with a slightly different type of equation. Sometimes equations will have variables on both sides of the equal sign. If this is the case, we need to rearrange the equation in order to move all the variables to one side. So here's an example. If we had 2x plus 7 equals 5x minus 4, you can see that in this equation, we have variables or x's on both sides of the equal sign. In order to solve this, you're going to need to make sure that you move all of the terms that have an x to the same side so that you have one x in the problem instead of multiple x's, and then you can solve. That is going to be our new first step, is kind of get the x's together. So let me show you an example. In problem number 1, you'll notice that we have a term that has an x on both sides of the equal sign. We have the 5x and we have the 3x. What we want to do is get those terms to be together, kind of like you want all your x's together. So in order to do that, I'm going to start, my first step is going to be to subtract 5x on both sides. Now you'll notice I was really careful to write 5x because I'm moving that entire term. It's not just the 5, it's not just the x. That entire term is moving together. So step number 1 here is to get the variables together. After we get our variables together, here's what happens. On the left side, the 3x and the negative 5x are like terms, so we can combine them. And those combine to give us negative 2x. On the right side, the 5x and the 5x cancel. Then I'm just going to drop down the minus 10, and I'm going to drop down the positive 4. Those are just going to move down, they're not going to change. Now I can solve my equation like normal. So I'm going to add 10 on both sides in order to undo the minus 10. And that means that I get negative 2x equals, because the 10s cancel, 4 plus 10 is 14. Last but not least, I'm going to divide by negative 2 on both sides, which means the negative 2's cancel on the left, and I get x equals 14 divided by negative 2 would be negative 7. So the only new step here is that we need to get our variables together first. Then we solve like normal. Let's try another example. So in problem number 2, we're going to start by getting the variables together because there's an x on the left and an x on the right. So to do that, I'm going to start by subtracting 2x on both sides. Now, when I do that, the 2x's cancel on the right, and the 4x minus 2x combine to give me 2x, because 4 minus 2 is 2. Then I'm going to drop down the minus 9 and the positive 11. Now I'm going to solve like normal. So I'm going to add 9 on both sides, which means that the 9's cancel on the left and I get 20 on the right, because 11 plus 9 is 20. I'm just going to drop down the 2x, and then I'm going to solve by dividing by 2 on both sides. So x is equal to 10. Again, the only new thing here is that we're moving all of the x's to one side as step number 1. Other than that, we solve the rest of the problem the exact same way that we've been solving. Let's take a look at another example. Now, this example, you're going to notice that we have a parentheses, and we haven't done a problem like this before. So let's talk through this. Before I try to get the variables together, this x is trapped inside of a parentheses. So I need to figure out a way to get the parentheses to go away. So the first thing that I'm going to do here, instead of getting the variables together, is I'm actually going to divide by 4 on both sides. Now, when I divide by 4, a couple different things are going to happen. First of all, the 4's on the left are going to cancel. So now I just have x minus 6, which is nice because now my x is not inside of a parentheses, which is what I was looking for. On the right side, you're going to notice that this looks like a problem that we talked about before, where we have kind of 2 division problems in one. So first, I'm going to divide 8x divided by 4, and 8 divided by 4 is going to give me 2x. Then I'm going to divide the 16 divided by 4, and 16 divided by 4 is just going to give me 4. So you can see that what I had to do here was divide everything by 4. So I was really doing 2 separate division problems. Now this equation looks just like one of the problems on the first page of our notes. So our next step would be to subtract the 2x on both sides in order to get the x's together. Now when I do that, the 1x minus the 2x gives me negative 1x on the left, and on the right, the 2x's cancel. Then I'm just going to bring down the minus 6 and the positive 4. Next, I'm going to try to get the x by itself. So at this point, it just becomes solving like normal, like we've been doing. So I'm going to add 6 on both sides. And when I do that, I get negative 1x equals 4 plus 6 is 10. Because the 6's cancel. And last but not least, I'm going to divide by negative 1 in order to get x by itself. And when I do that, I get x equals negative 10. So if I was to think about the steps for solving here, first I divided to remove the parentheses. I wanted my x to not be inside the parentheses. Then I got the variables together. And then I just solve like normal. Let's try that one more time. So in problem number 4, again, I have x's on both sides, but on the left side, the x is inside of a parentheses. So in order to solve this, I'm going to start by dividing by 3. Now, when I divide, I get that the 3's cancel on the left. So all that's left there is the x plus 2. On the right, I have 2 separate division problems. 9 divided by 3 would give me 3x, and 12 divided by 3 would give me 4. Now I want to get my variables together, so I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides. And when I do that, 1x, and there's an invisible 1 there, minus 3x makes negative 2x. And on the right side, the 3x's cancel. So I'm just going to drop down the positive 2 and the positive 4. Now I'm just going to solve like normal. So I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides, which means that I get that the 2's cancel on the left. So I just have negative 2x, and 4 minus 2 gives me 2 on the right. And lastly, I'm going to divide by negative 2. And since I'm dividing by a negative, On the left side, the negative 2's cancel, and I just get x. And on the right side, I get negative 1. And that would be my final answer. So again, first I divided to remove the parentheses. Then I got the variables together. And then I just solved like normal. All right, friends, that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for some practice.